We're behind the bar.
So our guest today is the first Afro-Latina chairperson of the Kansas Democratic Party.
Usually she does 5 fingers.
Mm-hmm. The daughter of a civil rights activist turned Lutheran minister mama.
Wow.
Mother to 3 amazing human beings.
Oh, cool.
The single best hugger and compliment giver I have ever met.
Fuck you.
And the best stump speech giver I have ever seen in real life. And I have seen Pete Buttigieg speak in real time. And Sharice Davids. The amazing Jeanna Repass. Welcome to the Behind the Bar.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here. I've had a really crappy week. And I told Haley earlier, I'm running towards Friday so I could be here with you. So
is that because I'm going to give you alcohol?
Partly, yes.
Oh, so we're going to have a drink.
Yes.
What are we ordering today?
We are ordering a gin and tonic, but with tequila instead of gin.
So a tequila tonic.
Tequila tonic.
Do we have a name for this? Let's make one up.
It's called the Repass.
Yeah. Oh, what a great name. Yes,
The
we're calling it the
Repass.
Repass.
The Repass.
Yes. The key is the
Bonnie
fresh
Repass.
lime. I was going to call it the Bonnie.
I
but-
heard
Bonnie.
Bonnie.
Call it the Bonnie. We might have to call it the
Gina
Bonnie.
renamed my dog when she walked in my house, and my
name's
dog is
Coco,
now
but she's not
Bonnie.
Bonnie.
And this guy's gonna steal her, and it's just this big
And
thing.
change her name to Bonnie.
Let's
and
just call it the
move to
Bonnie,
Mexico.
and that can be
So I'm
our
making you.
girl drink.
Okay, I'm making you the Bonnie.
The Bonnie.
You got it. I am a guy who really would just become very on the couch, like not on the bar, on the couch. And this motherfucker says to me the other day things like this: "It's my birthday. I'm leading a spin class." And I'm like, I'm not interested. I'm not interested.
I
in
said,
this.
come celebrate our birthday at a spin class.
I'm going to coach the spin class. And I'm not interested. I'm not interested. Not interested. So then I get there and I take one look at her and I go, if you say anything to me, I'm fucking getting up
Any
and I'm
motivation. If you target any inspiration or
leaving. One
motivation my
word.
way.
I'm going to sit in the back,
Listen,
happy
I let this
fucking
creepy
birthday.
guy sit in the back.
That's the only, I'm friends with her
All by
because
himself. He just pulled
she
his
gets
hat
me off
down
the couch.
on his little bike.
Well, let me be very clear about another Haleyism.
Oh, no. This is not what this is.
If you want to work out,
It's your
just
birthday.
take Motrin
It's your
first.
birthday.
Take Motrin and then go.
Correct. And I'm telling you preemptively to save yourself. Take the Motrin first. And so we
I
went
take
on a
Motrin
walk.
every time I'm around her.
Speaking of, how's your saddle seat? How's your saddle from that?
I was really cushioned. I was the only person in class that wears freaking biking shorts when you have to bike an hour with this guy. Who the fuck are these people?
How long is this
What kind of
class?
vaginas do they have?
That's steel.
Minutes. Well, yeah, I did. I only invited steel vaginaed human beings.
Except
to
for
my
her
class.
soft
was
little.
That is
Even in
exactly
spin
right.
class.
And then this guy with a soft
Tissued ass.
undercarriage.
Honestly, I went
area.
into like a deep meditation for a while.
All right, this is going so well.
Cheers and thank you for
I haven't
having
started
me.
drinking yet. Fuck. Okay, so I feel like I already know you. We've become really close friends doing political work in the amazing state of Kansas. And to do that, you have to really get your hands dirty. You have to get to know people. And I think one of the most compelling parts about you, there are many, but I love your backstory. I love when you share with people who you are, where you came from, talk to us about your parents. For anyone out there who doesn't know you,
I've never heard this story. I'm excited.
I want them to get to know you a little bit better.
Oh, thank you. I'll try to be
crazy.
succinct. I'm the daughter of a civil rights activist, and my dad gave up a football scholarship at the University of Nebraska to volunteer to go fight in Vietnam. And he was one of 70 Afro-American Latino men who got into the helicopter program. He was the only one that graduated. I was actually born while he was flying a mission in Vietnam. The story he tells me every year on my birthday. He calls me up. He has Senator's son playing in the background, that.
Yeah.
And then he's making helicopter noises. It's getting worse as he gets older. And
Can we example? Real quick?
yeah, he'll go August 12th, 1970, and he's telling the story. The way it happened is he would get in good trouble. I think people at war have to do things to keep your humanity, your sanity. So he and his guys, he was an officer, a chief warrant officer, and he and his guys would get in kind of good trouble. Mm-hmm. And so the call comes up, he's flying a mission, and they say, Chief Warrant Officer, we're doing it. He goes, sir, whatever it was, I didn't do it. And he said, well, your wife just gave birth to a baby, so I hope you did. And so that is the story. And it's on my phone. He tells it all the time. And it's kind of how he marks the years since he was in Vietnam by my age.
Yeah.
Which I am not ashamed to say is 54.
You look amazing.
Don't I? Listen,
Yes.
it's hair dye and shapewear.
Okay.
That is the secret.
Well,
but
I just made myself
actually
some
is.
mental notes.
stay with it.
Well,
But yeah, it's been 54 years.
I'm gonna have to get some shots of you in Spanx, by the way.
Spanx are the girl's best friend.
I just went into a freeze, but go on.
You just have to breathe into it.
Yeah.
While he was doing that, my mom was protesting the war. My mother was a civil rights activist. She started sneaking out of the house when she was 14. She's actually, I always call her the star.
Where was she living? Where did she
Omaha,
live?
Nebraska.
Okay.
Where Malcolm X was born, by the way. There's a documentary called A Time for Burning that features my mom about the 60s revolution. It is an Oscar-nominated documentary.
Hell yes.
Featuring Jeanna Repass. So these two souls, she is a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, progressive liberal. My dad's a dyed-in-the-wool Republican. And so I grew up in a very interesting household still. And he's a Trump guy.
Oh, God.
And here's what's interesting about that. And in my role as the Democratic chair, it is important to be able to still love people.
Yes.
And I know that sounds trite. Like, oh, we all should love each other. I am forced to love because I do love my father. I'm actually married to a Republican. My tall, bald, really, really white guy.
He's like as white as you.
Yes, like his only coloring is red.
I'm sorry, my mind is blown
Yes,
right
from the
now.
farms of western Nebraska, Republican. And here I am. But growing up in the household, just getting back to that story, my parents taught my brothers and I a deep and abiding love for our country.
Yeah.
They made sure we understood it was ours. It's our responsibility. It's no one else's. And in our skin, we had to fight to love our country because it doesn't always love us back.
Yeah.
That was never the excuse.
Yeah.
It is still my responsibility to offer service back to this country. And I love it. I love it for all its flaws. I love it for all of the hate and the hurt because the fact that we've overcome so much of it is what makes it so great, which is why I'm hopeful right now. People are like, Jeanna, and they're like, how are you? I'm like, I'm great. They're like, you're great. Did you see Donald Trump Monday? I'm like, I'm still great. Because I've seen the country. I've seen it through my mother's eyes.
You made me cry today.
I'm just telling you, I've seen this country through my mother's eyes.
I said stump speak.
Nothing worse than leashing dogs on children and fire hoses, and yet we marched on, and our country responded. This is a time, and we will get through it because we have. So that's my background. My mom turned Lutheran pastor, and there's some stories about that I don't think I can tell without crying, but that's why I got into politics. When my final child went to college, I said, now it's my time to serve. And I wish I could have gone.
When was that?
Believe it or not, as experienced as I looked, it was literally 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And my first run for anything political,
You do look experienced.
yeah, was for Secretary of State in the state of Kansas. I was the first ever Black woman on either party
Yeah.
to be nominated for a statewide office
Wow.
as Secretary of State, my first ever race. And it was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And I just jumped in and did it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I want to say to people. You don't have to be anything but who you are. Get in and serve. I've been chasing Haley. She's the best no person I've ever heard. She just slaps me down. No, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it.
That's
I keep
recent.
chasing her.
Good
yeah,
job.
I've had to develop that skill.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
But then again, Ashley, please consider running for office.
I'm probably going to say yes because I cannot say no to anyone.
You heard it here first. State
I got
senator.
to someone.
It's not really going to happen because they would take like 4 seconds to deep dive on me and somebody would be like, this is a fucking horrible idea.
Well, considering the folks who are currently serving in the highest offices of government, apparently those skeletons in the closet are a qualifier.
There are
not
zero skeletons.
a disqualifier.
That's right.
My skeletons don't look anything like their skeletons.
Exactly. There are no disqualifiers.
I want to see your skeletons actually.
I've been trying to get her to run for office.
We all should. That this is someone who has such a strong moral center, and she leads with it. And
Yep.
people follow authenticity.
I mean, I'm hitting that up all
I
the
keep
time.
hitting
Like,
this
I'll
bar
do like
much more.
once a month. Like, I mean, I can be your campaign manager. Like, I'm here to get the gays on board.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would need their help on that.
Well, they're gonna be confused when they see you.
Yes.
They're gonna ask where her husband is. And
Yes,
stuff.
that's true.
Which is why you'd be so perfect. We need people with wives. We need lesbians. We need gays. We need everyone. Not to like brag on Jeanna, but I get to appoint people.
You can brag on Jeanna.
I get to
That
appoint
is why
people.
you are here today.
Well, and let's be clear. No, but the DNC allowed me to appoint people to DNC committees, and I intentionally appointed a trans woman
Great.
Because Kansas had some issues, and I'm like, you know what, fuck you.
Yeah.
Here's my representative to the DNC.
Fucking
the
great.
trans woman out of Wichita, Jeanna Repass.
Amazing.
She's amazing.
Yay.
So I want to say the reason why I feel like running for a political office is not for me. I feel like my superpower is that I'm a connector and a networker, and that I'm an amplifier, right? And
Perfect.
I know.
Go on.
And I feel like no.
Tell us more.
No. So I feel like I can get more done as a private citizen who amplifies folks like you, right? Because the reality is, as a cis white woman with a boatload of privilege, my seat at the table, there's already someone whose lived experience is very similar to mine, minus the,
But they're not you, so there's a little bit of a
But
Yeah,
that
Ashley,
said,
Peter.
I
She's
feel
being
strongly
insane.
like you put a person of diverse lived experience, the trans woman, in a position to go to DC because she was going to be able to represent a constituency, albeit small in Kansas, but important in terms of legislative hoof.
For sure, agreed.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say, I mean, and maybe I'll run for mayor of Mission Hills one day because that job feels like something. I'm just going to run on sidewalks and underground.
I'm already bored with this conversation. But go on.
Ashley might be my new crush. I'm just like,
Yes!
But I agree with you. You have to ask people, and that is we know that in politics. How many times does a qualified woman have to be asked
7.
before she runs? Exactly.
Is that true?
Yeah, it is very
That is
true.
true.
7 times?
At least,
Yes.
at least 7 times.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you ask once, you can't give up on that.
Yeah.
So I've only asked you once. I'm clocking it.
I already said yes.
Well, I know.
You
but
didn't have
it's
to ask
too
me 7
easy.
times. It's
Like
fine.
I'm like on time 10.
I'm just saying, I'm
with
sorry
stuff.
you get what you asked for, and don't deep dive into my life. But yes, sure.
She's a
Go
jerk.
on.
Yes, keep going. So one of the things I wanted to circle back on was you talking about your parents having a diverse political ideology and being married to one another, but the common thread that they shared with one another is their love for the United States, their love for this country, despite their experience as both people of color.
But also, a Republican 10 years ago is not a Republican today either. So I want to hear that too as well, like how
The
that
evolution.
shifted.
Yeah. But I do think there's some there. I think it's totally appropriate if it feels not right for you to be in relationship with folks because there's a values difference if they have a different political philosophy. But I do think we have to have courageous conversations and stay in relationship with people who are not exactly like us because I have changed people's minds. And my mind has been changed by
And
having
because you
those conversations.
love them. I'm like, we have people in our families and in our lives that are Republicans as well. And I loved your verbiage. I thought that was great. But yeah, a great question.
But I
just
would love for you to kind of maybe expand on that, talk about your relationship with your husband, why it works, and then maybe even just kind of the way you stay connected to your dad, even though he's moved even further away from your political center.
and even like if you have like moments of just like, I'm so angry at this, that then you take it out on in your relationship too, et cetera.
What's interesting about Kyle and I, my husband, is that he is to the left of me. He is a registered Republican, and I think he's Republican because everyone in Western Kansas was Republican. Yeah. It really was that.
So kind of culturally.
It was
It's
completely
like a
cultural. It's just what you
libertarian.
do. He just, I think he, they voted Republican. They were Republican. It's what happened. But he's to the left of me ideologically. I'm actually what you would call, people would say a moderate, but maybe more of a conservative Democrat. To the point where people said, well, why don't you just become a Republican? It's like, because I love people. And I don't see that in the Republican Party. I think gay people are born gay and have the right to live their life authentically. I don't hear that in the Republican Party. I think trans people are born trans and have the right to live their lives authentically. I don't hear that in the Republican Party. And I'm telling you, if they could get the racism and the misogyny out there, some of those values are very common. Nobody wants to overpay in taxes. Lord knows I'm in a tax bracket that sucks.
Yeah.
I pay taxes every month, and then in April I still have to write another check.
Sure.
But there's a lot of similar values there. But until the Republican Party can show me that they value and love people, I cannot be a Republican.
This is like, I'm loving all of this information. I think you're so necessary right now, exactly where you are. Go on.
Well, thank you. And my husband, is way to the left of me, like on so many issues. And so when we first started dating, and I found out he was a Republican.
I'm fine buying him a drink now. I was questioning.
You'll love Kyle Robert Repass.
Kyle's great.
Kyle's the guy. When we took our daughter Ariel to the Katy Perry concert, and there were terrible people out there holding up those horrible signs that I will not repeat.
Yeah.
We like dropped the girls off because I think she was like in 7th grade. We took her down there, and we left her and her friend. We went across the street.
Falwell people.
Yeah.
Yes, it was the Falwell people.
Uh-huh.
We went across the
I'm
street
familiar.
so they could go into the concert. So we're there, and those terrible people are in the street, and I'm looking at my husband, like, you're going to keep walking. You're going to keep walking. And then there he goes, walked right over to him. And he's a really big, intimidating guy.
Yeah.
And he wanted to just fight him
Yeah.
in the street. I'm like, that's very anti-Republican of you, dear.
Yeah.
But no, he's just
You're like,
a
well
justice
played
center person.
and turned on.
Oh yeah, very much so. I love his justice center. But yeah, he's just to the left of me on a lot of things.
Yeah, cool.
And what I find is a lot of Republicans really are that way. They don't hate. They just kind of get used to things. And what we find in Kansas, for example, we elect and re-elect the great Sharice Davids. There are more Republicans in Johnson County in the 3rd Congressional District than there are Democrats. A lot of them are registered Republicans, just like my husband, who vote their values. And Democrats tend to align with their values. So what I learned from my parents, to rope that back, is that that's where we need to always land. They allowed us to choose our political party. We grew up in a house where we were encouraged to debate at the dinner table, which happens in my house. I have 3 young, what we call young Dems, aged 18 to 35 in my house. My daughter Ariel is one of our true norths. My poor son, she came back from college, and we couldn't have dinner. Because she was just
charged.
the misogynistic machine.
I love her.
Like her brothers are there
love her.
cowed at dinner, like, oh my gosh, how quick can I eat? You know, but that's my true north, is always
You're my
having
favorite
those
child.
ideas.
You're my favorite child.
Good job, Ariel.
But just to wrap that up, my parents encouraged us to have differing ideas.
Yeah.
And it taught me to love people who differ from me.
But where do you draw that line, you know? Like, now we're hurting people. Like, we're making legislation that's hurting people. Like, where do you draw that line? And from like connecting the values of these Republicans, that they're voting on their values, but they're prioritizing their values over, they're hurting people. Like, how do you connect that in your?
The 2 things I would say that are humanity and ignorance. You always draw the line at humanity, and you tap into people's humanity, and then you understand most of those votes are made out of ignorance. I'll give you a more close example. In Kansas, we had a state senator, I'm not going to name check her, who votes against education. She votes against Medicaid expansion. She's a horrible human being, but during her campaign, she ran as though she was Governor Kelly's best friend, literally was running ads pro-education, name-checking our governor. And I will tell you about Governor Kelly. She looks like a librarian. She wears those cardigans.
I know her.
There's a razor in that
her.
cardigan. Let me tell you
Yeah,
something.
I know that woman.
Yeah,
Man,
ain't no doubt.
we were
Love you, Governor Kelly.
You know what? Cheers to
Cheers
Governor
to Governor
Kelly.
Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
yes.
And razor blades in our cardigan.
Razor blades, I'm telling you, there's a razor blade in that cardigan. She went right after her at an event.
It's a very lesbian thing to do.
Isn't it? I'm just telling you.
Is it gay?
Is it gay? She is not.
Oh, no. But it's carrying a razor blade in your cardigan.
Is that a lesbian?
Is
Let me tell you something. It's also
We
a
know
black
she's
woman
not.
thing.
Yeah,
There's a somewhere.
There's a lot of crossover.
There is a
mine
lot of
back.
There is a lot of crossover. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. It just
No, I think I'm rambling.
I'm working on my interruption skills.
But the point is that I think when people are not voting their values, it's more out of ignorance because they think they're voting their values. That's why.
So here's where I am. I'm like, okay, ball's in your court, Republicans. Put up or show up. If the price of eggs doesn't come down, if you say, oh, he's not really going to come after same-sex marriage, oh, he's not really going to, I'm going to hold you to those things that you said. These are the reasons
In
why.
2 years, do you have like all of them written down? You're like, I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you.
I don't need them.
We should
written
all make
down.
that list.
They
I'm
are
gonna write mine
burned
down.
in my soul. I know who I am going to have those. Who I'm going to have those conversations with. Because here's the thing. Okay, great. You guys, we lost big. Y'all won big. So now come with big power
Do you
comes
see
big
this right here?
responsibility.
This is called, I'm sitting too close to her right now.
That is awesome goosebumps.
She can feel my like, I will fuck them up. I'm going to be like,
We all know that.
Oh my God.
so I'm like, okay, great. Y'all won big. Now, put your money where your mouth is. Let's see how this really plays out. And then I'm going to use the results of the campaign promises you ran on to beat the holy living shit out of you in 2 years.
2 years, not 4. 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, 4 years, we're good in 4 years.
Yeah.
2 years is what we are focused on, right? A Speaker Jeffries, we need to, in Kansas, we need to break the supermajority.
Yes, please.
We need to reelect a Democratic governor. Can't be Governor Kelly because she's already had 2 terms. And we need to...
Thank you for explaining that to me.
Yeah.
See, I was right there with you.
Thanks.
But yeah, so where I am is, okay, great, but I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to hold you to
She
it.
should run for office. She understands it.
She loves it.
She lives it.
I'm not
She's
smart
intelligent
enough,
about it.
I'm not
She
smart
said
enough.
that as you were saying that to yourself, I was telling you something.
Well, see, when you run, she'll run your campaign, then you get in and we bring her on.
I'll go in, I'll lose because people will.
No, you're not going to lose.
Oh yeah, I
No,
will.
no,
And then
no,
she'll
we're
just
not
step up and be
going
like, just kidding. It was actually this guy.
Oh wait, didn't Trump just do that with Elon Musk?
Oh, but I'm bummed.
So let's shift a little bit. Let's shift to the recent election results of Donald Trump. And suffice to say, you know, it didn't go the way that us at the folks at the table here hoped that it would go, right? Okay, so I keep reminding myself that hope is a choice, right? It isn't something that happens passively. In order for us to stay engaged, we have to make choices. So I want to ask you, as someone who is a leader of people, what strategies are you telling people to implement to stay engaged, to stay effective, to avoid overwhelm? What are you standing up and telling people or having personal conversations saying, this is what you do?
You start talking. And I love what you were talking about in the 2 years. We can't wait for a 4-year strategy, but I want to challenge people to do a today strategy. At the Kansas Dem, yes, there we go.
Pause.
Yes.
That's good.
A today strategy.
Write that fucking
Put
shit
that on
down.
the whiteboard.
And here's why. At the Kansas Democratic Party, full disclosure, our new media director is actually my son. He's been in television media broadcast for 11 years. And after the election, I actually begged him to help us through the election.
Is his name Adam?
His name is Adam.
Is he in the room?
He's in the room. He's single.
Come here,
And I
Adam.
would really like
Come here
grandchildren.
for just a second, guys. Check out this hot single man.
Yes,
in the
he's
room.
hot and single, and I really want grandchildren. Come here, honey. Yay, let me get my mom on real quick. Yay. He's educated, he has a job. Look how cute he is. He likes dogs.
Guys, I gotta
I
tell
need
you something.
grandbabies.
I'm not gonna marry him.
Well, the first time I met Haley, I know, and Haley too.
Haley's beautiful.
Yes.
Haley's amazing.
Yeah.
I need grandbabies. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
But the reason I went and got Adam was because we have to have a today strategy on how we're talking.
That's right.
We are active on Facebook. We are
Right.
active, and even on Twitter. We stayed on Twitter. We're going to get on Blue Sky. We're having a YouTube channel.
This is amazing.
right now.
Amazing
Yeah.
thinking.
We are going to
Amazing.
check Republicans in real time.
Yeah.
Starting in Kansas. I already got them mad at me last week with a press release Adam wrote. So, yay, we started out on the right foot. But every
Did
single
you hear
time-
that, ladies?
Yes.
Did you hear what Adam did?
Yes, he's so great. He's employed. Everything they do, it's a right now strategy, and we need to build in real time because they're very good at twisting the facts. When I said ignorance, people don't know what they're voting for. They actually think up is down and down is up because the head
There's
of
a
that
lot
party
of
is a
disinformation.
huge liar.
Yeah.
So you combat that.
You have a
every
lot
day.
of grace though on this whole ignorance thing. Like I am not there with you, and I will
Talk to me about that. I want to.
Oh no, I just have a lot more. Like you need to be where you are, like because this is a really
That's the other
good
thing.
mentality.
This is why I feel like I'm not qualified to run for political office because I think too often people go in and serve their own interests. They're not working as representatives. I think our representative Sharice Davids does that more
Yeah.
effectively
This is incredible.
than any other legislator I've ever met, and I've been doing this since I was 19 years old. She goes in there and she represents her constituents. That's why she beats people by 11, 12, and 13 points.
Full agree. Fully
Right?
agree.
And so I am going to go in, I'm going to do what I think is right, and that might not be what represents my constituency. And so there's some there, right?
we can coach you through this.
You know, and here's what the only challenge, and listen, I keep losing this battle with Haley, but I'm going to say to both of you, two women that I really believe your voices need to be added. As much as you lean
Listen,
into your...
I will stump with you. I will stand up with you. I would do your job, but I don't think I need to be a congressperson or...
Go on.
I wasn't paying attention to it anyway. I'm going to keep coming after her. Like, she protests. It doesn't matter. But what we don't have, tell me how many lesbians are serving right now in any elected office that you know of.
Quite a
state
few.
or
Quite a few.
nationwide?
Just in general.
Quite a few.
Nationwide?
Well, let's talk Kansas and Missouri.
Oh, well, Kansas out that I know, less than 3.
And there you go. So your voice isn't heard. And I need your voice. That's all I'm saying. Just a challenge. Just a challenge.
I appreciate that. But I do think it's very important
her,
as a
you
white
take her down.
person
I'll be there to
that
hold her hands down.
folks, people of color we need
And
more
lesbians.
people and lesbians.
And lesbians.
But people of color, because here's the thing, my whiteness, it gives me a lived experience that a person of color doesn't. It is different, and I can really, truly, deeply acknowledge that.
I think though what I'm hearing her say, and I will, because I also think like your question is relevant. Like
She's my anger interpreter, like Barack Obama.
she is very fully charged. So where you're sitting there going, this is a place of ignorance, and I'm going to love them through it, and I'm going to educate them. She would be like, and we're going to kill them, and we're going to put them in boxes, and then we're going to have
silverback gorilla
So,
tendencies. I will run into camp.
In that way, I
will
think
pull you
she's
out of a
what they
tree.
call coachable.
In air quotes. It's totally coachable.
No, but it's a compliment to you because truly, like,
Yeah, I mean,
this
what
is,
you do is not. Yeah, it is a series of skill sets and lived experiences that put you in the position that you are. So you're saying we need a today's strategy. I also think the thing I've been telling people is don't focus on everything. Get really strategic. What is your number one?
What is yours?
What are the 2 or 3 things that you're specifically focused on?
You did such a good job of writing these questions.
Thank you. And I'm like following along. This is how I manage my ADHD. And so the strategy of focusing so you're not overwhelmed, because their strategy is shock and awe.
Mm-hmm.
Do crazy things, say crazy things.
Look
flood
over
the
here,
news
look over
every day.
here,
That's right.
look over here.
He's talking about the Gulf of America because he knows he can't lower the price of eggs or make you be able to afford your rent or get you a job or allow you to build a house that's not going to cost you triple what it did 6 months ago. Yeah. So he's focused on that.
Is this thing on?
He's flooding
Go,
the border.
Go, Kaylee, go.
Because he can't actually make your kids smarter in school, right? That is the deal.
So what's your focus?
Well, I need the mic.
Okay. Oh, did you need? I don't know.
I need the mic. No, I need the mic. So my focus is this on?
I love it. You can
know,
borrow it if you want.
Can I?
Yeah.
I'm going to come over and use it.
Yeah.
There's no one singular focus. Right now, I would say in Kansas, it's about protecting education. Mm-hmm. We're going to be fighting a terrible voucher system, which will destroy public education.
Oh.
And, you know, the funny thing about, tax and spend liberals, nobody wants to spend your money quicker than Republicans.
Yeah.
We finally have not only a balanced budget, but a surplus. Thanks to the great Governor Kelly. I'm
the
not talking
Democratic
about,
governor.
Yes.
not talking about like $50, we're talking about $1 billion
Yep.
surplus and a rainy day fund.
Yeah.
Two separate things.
Yeah.
It's like our checking account is balanced, there's money in there, and we have a savings account.
We're winning.
Yeah, and much like me and my husband, where it's like, we have money, let me go shop. That's exactly what the Republicans want to do. As soon as they see a surplus, how do we spend it? And so my number one thing right now is making sure Kansas doesn't fall off the cliff. But what I'm looking for with Donald Trump is the second he tries to put a child in a cage, we're going to have an issue. And what I will say is the great Sharice Davids and Hakeem Jeffries and the great minority representatives in Congress are going to fight tooth and nail. He has to go through them to do that.
Yeah, great.
But that's the number one thing I'm looking. He's already tearing apart the Department of Justice.
Yep.
He's already, like today, there are 2 cases in Kansas City, Missouri that were in front of the Department of Justice, civil rights cases that he has frozen. So I already know that. But again, I think that's distraction here. It really is. So that he can do things like separate children from their parents. That's where the humanity comes in. And I will tell you, defending Republicans for a second, I don't know a single one, I'm sure I don't hang out with all of them, who are going to be okay with that. It was like when the little girls got blown up in the church in the 60s. And during the Civil Rights Movement. I think that was actually the 50s.
I know, as soon as she said defending Republicans, I was like...
But I feel like when we allowed Sandy Hook to happen and we didn't change gun laws, we allowed babies to be killed in their classrooms. And that wasn't a bridge too far for us. that were more outraged about TikTok ending, and I don't think
Yeah,
TikTok
but okay,
should end
but
than gun control. That we
I'm going to
get
interrupt you and
engaged.
say it wasn't a bridge too far. But then, like, how do we get anything done? Like, or what, right? So, like, at least she's still saying, okay, we got to show up and have these conversations.
I hope
or it's like you and I are just out to euthanization.
There is a line for those. I hope, and the people that I know and I love that are Republicans are amazing.
So she believes there's a line still,
and I'm hoping
and you and I are
that
hopeful that
right.
there's a line
I
still.
hope that that's right.
There's
And
a line.
and it will be. I will be so
Look, she's like
proud
so,
and impressed when that I see them step up to that line.
She's doing much more important things than you and I are.
This is why I'm not ready for.
And she's sitting here hopeful and saying, "There's a line," while
line.
you and I are like, "I just got to drink," because there's no line. The line is not there.
Okay, so
Welcome back.
and we're back. We're having a
Commercial break.
from Old Navy.
From Old Navy.
We will wear your
You owe us
pants
$300 million
in
for
public.
that.
So yesterday, as I tend to do with people that I'm close with, I got a little bump that I need to reach out to Jeanna. I knew she was going to be on the show today, but I was like, so I wanted to just check in, make sure she was feeling good, felt empowered about being here. So I reached out. She was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called me. She was on her way to do a forum. Now, tell me the formal name of the forum.
Well, it's the Democratic National Committee is hosting forums. We have all new officers who are going to be elected for the DNC. Our former chair, Jamie Harrison, current chair till next Saturday, is not running for re-election, and all of the main officer positions are all up for re-election.
And you're running for?
A vice chair at large.
Boom!
Yes, thank you. Ba-boom, ba-boom. Stand up, Kansas. Woo. Oh, look, see, I caught on. Did you
Get
see
the
I did
demons
that?
out.
I did that. Is that what that is?
You're knocking the demons out.
Knock the spirits out.
Oh, I'm going to knock them down my throat. Is
Yeah.
that
And so she's like, I'm about to be on this thing, and we were kind of debriefing, and what I said to her is what I feel like your mom would say to you, or that I say to myself when I'm in a situation where I'm feeling some anxiety about, am I going to say the right thing?
You were nervous.
I was angry.
Okay.
There was different. She caught me in a moment where I was angry, and as much as I'm giving you hope now, that really it's a testament to my mom.
I'm just glad you're going through that too, because
I was so angry yesterday, and Haley tapped into that and called me at the exact right moment.
And I just was like, you are the right person to say the things that need to be said. You
That's
are
awesome.
a channel. Just get out of the way. You're going to say the right thing at the right time. And she's like, oh, will you tune in? So I tuned in, and she blew my socks off.
Did you feel like you blew socks off?
She crushed.
Did you feel like you crushed it?
Her final comment was so good that David Hogue, who is a Parkland
survivor,
of the
Parkland
amazing human being doing great work in
we
Texas.
need to get him on the show.
Yeah,
let's do that. Yes, please.
Yeah.
He says, so she raps. She sits back because she leans into the camera.
And she's like, I'm fucking
She
crying.
sits back, and he and then they say, okay, David, and he comes on and he says, Jeanna, yes, that is the energy that we need to be leading with.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. So to answer your question, I just blacked out. Like, that's the truth.
That's the best.
Right.
I
Best way to
literally,
do it.
Best speeches.
and I have to call like someone.
Did you
on the
watch
way
it
home.
later, or are you one of those people who are like, I can't?
Well, now
watch
I've gotten
myself?
used to seeing myself on camera. How I sound is just how I sound. If I look fat, it's because I was fat that day. If I look skinny, it was like great. I just I get
You're
out
cool
of
with
that.
that,
Yeah, I
yeah.
get out of that space. I didn't watch last night because I seriously I wasn't in a good headspace, and thank God that Haley called me. Because my concern was that I was going to get on camera and come off as the angry black woman. Now that you talk about demons to
For
fight.
which you have permission to be, by the way.
From you.
I know.
From you. But for the world, that is not a luxury I have. We talk about
I know.
privileges.
We've had those conversations many times.
I do not have that privilege.
Yeah.
So I was concerned because I was mad enough that I was like, all right, how am I going to pull this back? And Haley just said, she goes, say a little
She
prayer.
like
take
is
a deep
kind of a
breath.
Zen Buddha sometimes.
She was, and she called, and I didn't call her. She called me right at that right moment. So what I did do was lean right into the truth. So every question that came at me, every question that came at me, and I try to always lean into the truth, even if it's tinged with a little bit of Pollyanna-ness and some hope.
Yeah.
Yesterday I just gave
That's
it
your
to
best
her.
friend.
Yes.
That is your best friend in
Here's what I
around
think is
transparency, authenticity. Get it done. Go ahead.
Because here's what I think is important for people to understand. The leadership of the DNC set the strategy for the next election cycles, 2 years, 4 years. How are we going to proceed forward? Who are we going to amplify? How are we going to empower them? Are we going to have a 7-state battleground strategy? Or are we going to have a 50-state strategy? Who will be our emerging leaders?
We're here to amplify you.
So she's running for a position that will help set that strategy.
Do you hear this?
The thing that you said, and every single time you spoke, you talked about Kansas.
And listen to me right now, motherfuckers. This is one of my favorite episodes that we've ever filmed. So this is a little 15-second clip for you to say, go ahead, say it. You better fucking watch this episode.
You better fucking watch this episode. And here's why. Because I have been saying this for years. I moved back to Kansas in 2010. I moved into my parents' basement when I was starting a business and building a house.
She was also gay in 2010. Go on.
Correct. I moved back from San Francisco, and my West Coast friends were just traumatized. How could I move back to Kansas? How could I move back to Kansas City? How could I be in this area because I come from this liberal, progressive, sort of insulated place? And I said to them then, something is happening in Kansas. Something is happening. I grew up there. I have Kansas values that I went out and used in the world. And as I've come back and seen the way Kansas and the Kansas City metro area is changing and growing, and I said, you watch. Cool shit is happening.
And there is some cool shit happening.
So we have a proven track record.
We do.
Of as Kansas goes, so goes the rest of the country. So why is it vitally important to have a leader from Kansas and not just leaders from the coast? Because they're saying this, they're advocating for the same old way, and we have to burn it the fuck down.
You know it's a good sign when Adam's in the back shaking his head.
Well, it is because Adam's
He's like
my
rocking himself. He's like, oh no, he's saying
He's like, this bitch better run for office.
He's like, she better land the plane. Land the plane.
Well, if I can speak up for Kansas for just a second, Kathleen Sebelius, the Honorable Kathleen Sebelius, I was with her the other night, and she reminded us that when she took office as governor, before she became Health and Human Services Secretary for President Obama, that when she took office, there was a Democratic governor in Nebraska and in Iowa and in Missouri, and we had a Democratic senator from Missouri.
In Missouri?
Yes. And Kansas is the only state standing with a Democratic governor.
How fucking crazy is that?
We are the only bastion for abortion health care. Even though, Missouri, I love you. They passed that referendum. The Republicans are blocking it. You cannot get an abortion in Missouri yet. They're working on it. Kansas. That's why I'm running.
I'm telling you right now.
I love that.
As Kansas goes, if you can, there is something happening here with a Democratic governor that has economic surplus, with the Representative Sharice Davids, with what we've accomplished with access to abortion health care. Something is fucking happening here, and that is why we can't do it the old way.
And we're so glad you're a part of it. And now I'm going to speed around you because she's going to go for a while.
The first question is, what is your superpower?
Love.
Love. Go ahead, Uncle Creepy.
It's so good.
Okay. What is your guilty pleasure song?
Purple Rain.
That is an exceptional song. That's not a
Why is that guilty pleasure?
Well, because I sing it at full, when we get to the end.
So you go for it.
One time I was out in a club in Minneapolis because I went to the University of Minnesota, and out of the corner of my eye, the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life walks by.
And it was Prince.
Oh my God.
He was in a kitten heel, and I was like,
He was a beautiful woman.
He had his hair
Yes,
and tracked, and his eye makeup was
still not a guilty pleasure.
Who's your political crush and why?
Oh golly, I have two right now.
You're allowed.
I have a crush on the governor.
The governor.
Oh my God! I literally don't know what to do with my hands. When I'm around her, I'm like, it's Governor Kelly. And
that actually happens to me too.
Sweater set.
Same. Sometimes she has recognized me before because I just kind of creepy.
Ashley.
I'm the creepy. I'm the creepy
Yeah,
uncle.
yes.
Hello, Ashley.
And I've been like,
hello, Ashley.
That's exactly why I freeze. I'm just
She freezes you in her prowess.
And the other one, and she knows it because I said it to her, Sharice. I said it to her last night on the phone. I'm like,
she's crushable.
I mean,
yeah, she's totally crushable.
You should see her eat nachos.
I've seen her shoot pool.
Yeah, she's a hustler. What's your hidden talent?
I play the piano, I sing, and I dance. I have three of them.
Oh my God, we got.
And you're
that's
worried
our
about
outro.
singing?
That's our outro.
Can you do a piano version of Purple Rain?
I can do, oh gosh, I can do a couple of things on the piano.
That's our outro, you're right. All right, if someone cooked you X, you'd be all over him.
Lobster.
Lobster. What's
Does
his name?
Kyle
again?
cook you lobster? What's his name?
I know, what's his name? That guy. Kyle.
That guy you live with.
To be clear, Kyle cooks everything.
I'm not interested in straight men.
Yes, Kyle cooks everything. He's a great cook. He's a better cook than I.
Isn't that like the sexiest thing in the
Best
world?
thing in the world.
People who can cook
That,
for you.
And he's a protector.
Silverback tendencies.
You like that?
Underrated.
You like that? You like that? Like
I do, because I'm a strong woman and I fight for myself. To have someone who will fight for me.
Yeah,
I
he walks
love it.
across the
That's
street
correct.
and scares people.
Oh, he was going to fight them.
I'm I love this guy. I don't even
I'm
know
just
him.
letting you know.
I love him.
Let you know.
What is your least favorite band of all time? Mine's Smash Mouth, but go
Mine's
on.
Sublime.
Oh gosh, this was a hot take with me and my kids. Who sings Hey Ya?
Hey,
Outcast.
Those are your least favorite
Wait a
bands of all time.
second.
You know, it was a hot take. We were taking a road trip and everybody's doing hot takes and mine
We're
was
gonna need to
Outkast.
edit this question out.
I got to keep it in.
That's why you're
I
going to lose this
can't-
election.
I know, I can't
Exactly.
do it.
Oh my
I hear them
God.
come on, I'm like, ugh.
Okay, what is the
Chicken.
dominant trait that your best friends would say that you have that most people don't know?
I'm a protector.
Okay.
But we know that.
Yeah.
So what's something that we...
That you don't know?
Yeah, like
a
this-
dominant trait? though?
Yeah, like it encompasses you.
Yeah, something that your best
Like a
friends would
vulnerable
say
trait
about
that you're like,
you
I am very.
that the world may not
Oh,
know.
I'm a total nerd.
Okay, good.
Total nerd. I got on a
Like
Zoom
Dungeons
today.
and Dragons kind of thing, or what?
No, I'm cooler than that.
Okay.
I was gonna say,
That's what I
well,
think I
okay, you know what, though? I'm going to tell you, I'm going to switch it.
cosplay, like what's that?
No.
No, okay.
I'm going to give you something that most people don't know about me, except my super inner circle. I'm a reformed mean girl.
Oh, you were a mean girl?
Honestly, we need that in
No way.
This is
I
hopeful.
was bullied so badly.
This is hopeful.
That that's why when you compliment me, it literally shuts down my operating system because I'm like, brr, brr, brr. I don't even know what's happening.
Including like when I go back and tap into that, it helps me because sometimes when you got to fight the devil, you got to hit him with its own pitchfork.
It's a good skill for you to
So
have.
there are times, and I think it fools people because I love who I am now, and I'm authentically myself now. But if I have to mean girl somebody, I can carry me in the best of them.
I love that for you.
That is a good quality.
Yeah, and honestly, like
Mean is my kryptonite. I shut down with mean, which is also why
But I would
wouldn't be a
never
good
use it with
politician.
you. But there are people.
she would never use it with you.
No, but trust me, there are people who
But that's
will
also
get
why
it.
I throw hands.
There are people who will get it.
Well, and I'm the same way. Like I'm not to make this about me, but let's make it about me for just a second.
Finally.
I am a totally different person in business than I am in a personal thing, and people get confused. Like, if somebody,
I've heard her, like-
agents will follow me on my Insta, and they'll just think I'm very like submissive and fun, and then they'll fuck me, and I've made
Fuck me
grown
over.
men cry.
Definitely.
I have
I've heard
grown
her.
men,
heard
grown
her.
men in our industry have almost been brought to tears.
Yes.
So I feel that I think we needed a little bit to get
Well,
there.
and when I say reformed, like, I was a cheerleader and I kind of ran with the cool kids kind of thing.
Yeah.
And here's what's
I
nice
was a
about that.
cheerleader too, so I understand.
I love that. I was like a sorority girl. I was like that whole thing.
imagining you in a cheerleading
Listen to me, I went there. You could have been a base with me.
I
I'm
just
good.
wanted
You
to
could have been a
see-
base.
I will be a base.
I can see her. In
I have
the
been a base in a
men's version
cheerleader.
of
You've,
a cheerleading
you've been on
outfit.
my back in a cheerleader.
I definitely have been on
thing.
your back.
All right, last question. Question.
Yeah.
If you were a drink, what would you be and why?
If I was a drink, I'd be champagne. And not like the fruity rosé. I'm talking about a
Dry,
good, dry, crisp brute with lots
Bubbly.
of bubbles.
Nobody heard rosé with that.
Oh, yes.
Thank you for
Thank you.
coming.
I got it.
Yes, you did.
Gina, we have had an amazing conversation. Thank you for doing this. I am honored to call you my friend.
I am
feel
now.
humbled at the leadership that you bring to the state of Kansas. We need more of you at the national level. So, let's get those votes out for the vice chair position.
Yep.
Could you tell our audience where they can find more about what you do, who you are, and how they can follow you?
Well, thank you. And instead of talking about me specifically, I want to direct people to kansasdems.org. because what we stand for is bigger than me. So please go to kansasdems.org. It's our website. There's information on how to contact me there. It's information about what's going on and what's happening. I am running for DNC vice chair, so info at, I think it's Jeanna for vice chair. But right now, go to kansasdems.org. Stay connected, get involved. And it is a right now, today strategy to take our country back.
And all you Republicans, all you fucking Republicans, do you hear how much you still loves you? So think about voting for her, because she's rooting for your fuckers. We're not. Hey, this message goes out to our 6 followers. We love you.
Follow us on.
We've got a jasmine and lemongrass cocktail coming up.
No, follow us on all your social channels. Instagram, Behind the Bar with Ashley and Haley. YouTube, Behind the Bar with Ashley and Haley.
We have some new merchandise if you want to buy it too, so hit us up. And if you make a comment under one of these clips that you actually watch this whole episode, I'll buy you a drink at Dotson's. You just have to say, buy me a drink at Dotson's, but you have to watch the whole fucking episode.
That's great. And pretty soon we're going to have some merch available. So you're going to go to our Instagram. We'll have a link tree. You can click on merch. Not quite yet. The only way you can get merch is in person at our little birthday event, which is happening
tonight, so you won't hear about it. But it is straight merch and gay merch. We love everybody at this table. We just don't understand half of you.
Republicans.
Correct.